In most developing countries, the demand for wood for construction and fuel is ever increasing. Rapid population growth has also led to the expansion of agriculture. Mountain slopes have been cleared to make way for crops. In the past 10 years, about a quarter of the forests of Nepal have disappeared. Without trees and other vegetation, water carries away millions of tons of topsoil each year. The same struggle between forestry and expanding human settlement is taking place on the plains of Nepal, near the Indian border. Few forests remain. New settlers began moving into this area in the 60s, when malaria was eradicated. In the search for grazing land for their livestock, natural regeneration in the forests is destroyed. Firewood is a precious commodity in this region. In many areas, there is very little left to burn. So cow dung, which could be used to return nutrients to the soil, is used for cooking. A landscape devoid of trees is in danger of total destruction, the final result of the struggle between forestry and expanding agriculture.
मेरा दृष्टिले देख्छ त के भन्दाखेरि यो छेउ राखौं यो छेउ राख्दाखेरिमा एक जमानको पानी त्यसले रोक्दिन्छ रोक्दाखेरिमा.
However, some progress is being made toward solving this problem. With support from Canada's International Development Research Centre, IDRC, researchers at Nepal's Tribhuvan University and the Institute of Forestry are finding a way for the forester and the farmer to work together for the future of their country. The researchers are showing farmers how to plant rapid-growing native and exotic tree species on their lands to stop erosion from wind and water. The farmers are learning that trees and crops don't have to be enemies. They can share the same plot of land. Already, people are traveling long distances to obtain seedlings from the project's nursery. The researchers have shown farmers how to plant native trees such as Dalbergia sisu with crops such as banana. Dalbergia will even do well in poor soils, and it helps restore the land's fertility. They have also introduced exotic trees such as Leucaena leucocephala, which has several advantages for the farmer. It not only helps prevent erosion, it also supplies firewood, fertilizes the soil, and provides protein-rich forage for animals. Truly a multi-purpose tree. One of the reasons Leucaena and Dalbergia are so useful is that they are leguminous trees. The leguminous tree is a nutrient pump. Like other legumes, it develops special nodules on its roots, which contain bacteria known as rhizobium. These microorganisms have the ability to transform atmospheric nitrogen into a form of nitrogen which plants can use. The nitrogen fixated in these nodules is transferred into the leaves. When the leaves fall or are cut, they provide a rich source of nitrogen fertilizer for the topsoil. Adjacent plants can take advantage of this nitrogen pumping facility of the leguminous tree. The Central American rainforest is the original home of many species of leguminous plants used in agriculture. Species such as Leucaena, Gliricidia, and Erythrina. They have spread throughout the tropical world. In Costa Rica, the Tropical Agriculture Research and Training Center, known as CATI, is searching for the best methods of integrating these multi-purpose trees into agricultural production systems. For many years, Erythrina has been used to enrich pastures in this part of the world. CATI has devised methods of growing Erythrina and grasses together in what they call protein banks. The grass is enriched by the trees and, along with leaves from the trees, provides rich fodder which helps produce more meat and milk. On Costa Rican farms, Erythrina trees have served for many years as living fences. When new fences are needed, cuttings are taken from the old fence lines. These are simply planted along new fence lines beside traditional wooden posts. In 3 months, the new fence posts have a full crown of leaves. They develop deep roots and will last many years longer than the posts made of dead wood. The researchers are showing farmers that these rich leaves need not be wasted. The living fences can provide fodder for livestock. Erythrina leaves are very digestible, but like leaves from some other leguminous species, they can be toxic at high levels. The animal's diet can be balanced by adding other foods, such as byproducts from sugarcane and banana plantations, or grass. The researchers are continuing the search for the best combination of feed for optimum production of milk or meat and for optimum health of the animal. Erythrina has also been used for many years as shade for coffee and cacao. In the dry season, the branches are cut for green manure to restore the fertility of the soil in preparation for the next season. When the leaves of leguminous trees are cut or fall naturally, many of the nitrogen-fixing nodules on the tree's roots disintegrate. This also releases nitrogen into the soil. The planting of Erythrina with coffee can double the amount of coffee harvested compared to unfertilized plantations. The researchers are also experimenting with a number of systems, such as growing leguminous trees with beans and maize. Farmers who try the new systems soon realize that they can increase their production without costly nitrogen fertilizers. And there are other benefits from growing crops with trees. For instance, trees can serve as stakes for climbing plants, such as pepper and yam. These farming systems with leguminous trees offer an alternative to the traditional slash-and-burn cultivation practiced in Costa Rica and by more than 200 million people in the tropical world. Slash and burn can only be sustained if there are long periods of fallow between crops, allowing the soil to build up nutrients once more. With the increase in population and consequent shortage of land, farmers have been forced to shorten the fallow period. The soil is robbed of its fertility, and arable land is lost. In Nigeria, researchers at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, are experimenting with new farming systems which they hope will someday replace slash-and-burn cultivation. Exotic species such as Leucaena and Gliricidia do well in southern Nigeria. A small forest can be grown in 3 years, serving as a shelter belt, providing wood for fuel and construction, and fertilizing the soil. The researchers have developed a system of planting food crops in between rows of leguminous trees. They call this alley cropping. There are many possible cropping combinations with both indigenous and exotic tree species. Once established, the trees are pruned to provide a rich mulch for the soil. If maize or other crops are planted in this mulch, they get all the nitrogen fertilizer they need for rapid growth and good yields. The carpet of mulch covering the earth suppresses the growth of weeds and keeps soil temperature down while retaining soil humidity. It also increases macro and microbiological activity in the soil, improving it even more. After the maize is harvested, a second crop, such as cowpeas, can be grown in the same year. This system allows for continuous cropping while maintaining soil fertility. After the second crop is harvested, the trees are allowed to grow out in the dry season, ready to be pruned for the next crop as soon as the rains begin. Alley cropping may prove to be especially important for hilly land. The roots of the trees hold the soil, preventing erosion.
So we need all the mulch we can get.
The researchers are testing many combinations of crops and leguminous trees.
And same time also to get more biological activity.
They have identified the best tree species for rapid growth, maximum foliage, and root development. Comparisons between different species have also been made on the rate of regrowth after pruning. The nitrogen content of the leaves and the rate at which they decompose are also important. Although many soils may still require phosphates and other fertilizers, these experiments have shown that alley cropping can greatly reduce or even eliminate the need for synthetic nitrogen fertilizer. The International Livestock Center for Africa, ILCA, has been carrying out important work on how leguminous trees can also help to increase livestock production in southern Nigeria. Here, the majority of small farmers raise sheep and goats to supplement their income. However, these animals are allowed to graze freely and can be quite destructive to the environment. Experiments are being carried out with various amounts of fodder from leguminous trees. The leaves are rich in protein, very digestible, and have been shown to significantly increase the weight of goats and sheep. Thanks to the new source of fodder, some farmers have succeeded in establishing small-scale commercial feedlots. However, the test of a new system is whether or not it will work on poorer farms. The researchers have introduced alley cropping to small farmers in southern Nigeria. Small farmers are, for good reasons, cautious about adopting new methods. They live on a fine line between subsistence and financial disaster. They will usually not embrace a totally new system, but will modify it according to their own perceptions and experience. For too long, farmers have been receiving opposite advice from agricultural extension workers and foresters. One says to make room for crops by cutting trees, while the other advises not to cut trees. Around the world, researchers supported by IDRC are showing that this conflict can be resolved by the introduction of multi-purpose leguminous trees. Besides Leucaena, Clearacidia, Dalbergia, and Erythrina, there are hundreds of other species with potential for both the humid and dry zones. Trees such as the acacias, which fertilize crops and protect the soil of many regions of the world. They can provide valuable timber, wood for construction, or pulp for making paper. And they benefit people and animals by giving shade. Some may be used as shelter belts, while at the same time providing useful byproducts such as medicines, resins, and gums, even substances for tanning leather. The thorny branches of some species serve as fences. Others may be planted as living fences. These fast-growing trees can also provide firewood and charcoal, and forage for livestock. The pods and tender parts of some species are also nutritious food for people. Of course, no single species can provide all of these products or be used in so many ways at the same time. But the one thing all leguminous trees have in common is their nitrogen-fixing capacity, a quality which has an enormous potential for improving the practices of small farmers in developing countries. If farmers throughout the world adopt such farming systems, the soil could be saved from further destruction, and food supplies will be ensured for future generations.